think one very important part of today's webinar is to talk about real life implementations lessons. Oh, there's a double lesson there. Of course, we're not gonna talk about names or anything, but we've been lucky enough to have so many experiences that we have seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and what to avoid. So, drawing from our experience supporting hundreds of successful go lives, we'll share valuable stories about client successes, unexpected challenges, and the critical insights we've gathered along the way. Okay, and I think Paul can support me on this one. It has not one project has ever gone the same. So from our many implementations, here are our key lessons. Okay, and the success is rarely about tech. Okay, it's about people. We know that. I said that earlier during the webinar. We cannot rely only on technology. It's the people. We are the essence, the change management, and the consistent engagement that makes that basically drives the success of your HRIS. So always start small, measure the impact, and be ready to adapt. The more you listen to your users, the better the outcome will always be. So I'm gonna go through my first case example. Okay, it's the set and forget approach customer. Okay, again, this is just we will leave the names of the customers out. This was a growing international education company, and what happened? What went wrong? So after a successful go live, this company assumed the system would run itself. That is one massive misconception. So the HR team believed that once configured, users would naturally adopt the platform, and they didn't schedule any post lives training. They didn't revisit the UAT. Remember what we talked about, revising the pain points. And what happens? The line managers continue using the spreadsheets rather than the workflows of such people because they didn't know how to use them and they were already using spreadsheets before, so why change? Then the users also submitted incomplete absence requests due to lack of training. And then the key metrics weren't trusted due to inconsistent data. So remember, we cannot, technology is not going to avoid problems within the own business. So if there is the inconsistent data in the system, your users are not going to trust that data. We don't want to get there. And also, therefore, the engagement dropped. And again, the manual processes began again. So all this time implementing the system, and then let's go back to spreadsheets and emails. And I think so what's the lesson on this one? Without reinforcing systems through communication, training, attraction, adoption, the platform becomes underutilized. The organization had to relaunch part of the system 4 months later, delaying strategic use. And remember, it's confidence. I have said this several times today. We want the end user of whoever is using the system to be confident, to trust the system, and to feel that whatever we have implemented is going to make their lives better. And then a second example, over-engineering too early. So this was a private healthcare provider with 800 plus staff. And what went wrong? In an attempt to demonstrate that the post-go-live HR system and everything they have learned, the team immediately started working on phase 2 straight away. Okay, like let's go live, let's go with phase 2. This was custom dashboards, advanced workflows, automations, and integrating third-party tools before stabilizing core processes. So yes, all of this, like Paul said, APIs, DocuSign, all of this is beautiful because it's going to make your life easier. But if we don't have the core adopted and the core well established, and then that's going to drive a little bit of, and sometimes even anxiety from the end user. So what happened? What was the result? Users were confused with so many changes in the system. They were still getting used to the first part, and now there's more changes. The reporting became misaligned due to inconsistent data. Again, going back to the data inconsistency. And the key users resisted adoption, claiming the system was too complicated. We've seen this several times. And the issues from phase 1, like there were onboarding issues, they were never addressed because they were rushing into phase 2, trying to make things complete in the system. So what's the lesson? Scaling too quickly and overwhelm the users can expose weakness. Okay, post-go live efforts can be focused first on the stabilization of the first phase before you launch something extra. Now, I know I've spoken about two ugly scenarios, so let's talk about one that is a success story. Because don't get me wrong, yeah, we have seen the bad stuff, but we have seen so many great life, so many lessons of success studies. So in this one, it was for a UK-based clean energy consultancy, and the challenge was that this company had never used a centralized HR system before. Their goal was to improve reporting, compliance, manager service, and but they were really worried about the change and if it was going to overwhelm the team. So what they did right was they and again going back to what I said, held weekly polls meetings, go live to monitor feedback. Remember polls, the polls surveys that I spoke about, key. They rerun targeted training for key roles based on support tickets. They created a tracker on adoption and metrics. They nominated the system champions on each department to support with challenges. Not everything was contained depending on the part instead of overwhelming the system administrator. And they delayed phase 2 until they had phase 1 under control. And what was the result? The absence request increased 80%. So the system is and they got rid of spreadsheets. Managers began using dashboards in monthly meeting teams. Employee records were updated regularly, improving data quality. And the engagement surveys showed improved satisfaction with HR processes. Okay, so what is the lesson on this one? By focusing on stabilization, feedback, and communication, this company built confidence and embedded salespeople successfully. And now they are expanding with clear opportunities to strong business to buying. And again, this is the key. I know that we have said this over and over. Communication, listening, being there and understanding that, yes, if I understand the system, that doesn't mean the whole thing is going to understand. So let's try to make sure that we see this as a global change, as a global adoption, and as a global opportunity. And